All right, so today I'm going to be reviewing a video that I just watched the other day. It just kind of seemed interesting. I don't usually do review videos, but I just kind of wanted to do this one. Since I just released a video on getting multiple job offers, this one kind of stood out. It's from a channel called Logical Finance, and the title of the video is Labor Shortage. I applied for 1,000 jobs just to find out, which is kind of cool. I've never even imagined applying for 1,000 jobs, though, I mean, the concept is out there, right? Just apply for a bunch of jobs and see what you get back. And so that's interesting. I've always kind of wanted to do that. I sometimes do that with interviews. I apply to not 1,000 jobs, but maybe like a dozen and get interviews back and then actually go take those interviews really just to see what the interviews are like with not much intention of taking the job, even if I get it. So this kind of falls under the same lines. Logical Finance, I don't think is usually a kind of interview style channel. I took a look at it. I have watched one or two of his videos before, usually pretty good production quality. Not bad videos. They're usually more economics based, maybe finance, like investing, that kind of stuff. But it is kind of branching into some like the Great Resignation, that kind of stuff. So that's why this kind of popped up on my feed, and I figured, hey, it might be relevant to the rest of my videos. So I'm actually going to review this video and just let you know my thoughts, and if anything pops up that I think I could add some commentary to. So with that, I'm actually gonna go ahead and just start reviewing. So let's go.
I decided to apply for 1,000 jobs because I keep hearing that the job market is broken. Well, let's find out how bad it really is.
Where have all the workers gone? Labor is scarce right now.
So I think I'm going to apply for these jobs using fictional names. Now, in the 2005 book, Freakonomics, they talked about applying for jobs using the same resumes with different names at the top. And in their words, a white-sounding name and a black-sounding name. So I pulled the names Tanner and Demetrius from their list, and those are going to be the names I used to apply for the jobs.
So I actually do like this part of it. So my degree is actually in psychology. So I like this kind of study. This is kind of falls into the gray area between psychology, some social experiment, and sociology and finance experiment, economic experiment. All right, kind of overlap of all of that. And I really like that. Now I have watched the end of this video, and I know that he kind of picks up on this topic of like, hey, let's recreate this experiment and see what the difference is if we use multiple names and have the exact same resume and see if there's a difference in the feedback. But also then he gets into just, hey, I've got a college degree or I've got a non-college degree resume, and let's see what the difference is between those two. And so we kind of do like a weird matrix thing here where we cross-reference all of them. It gets a little overwhelming, and I think the majority of the outcome is more focused around the difference between the do you have a college degree or don't you have a college degree, and just kind of the entry-level feedback in general. That kind of, hey, we took two people's different names and sent resumes in, that kind of got lost in it. Even though it was part of the experiment, it just kind of didn't, I don't know, it didn't land, in my opinion. But I like that it was there. I wish there was kind of more to it, but I understand.
I'll be applying with the same exact resumes, just changing the names at the top. Now, since it's been so long since I've done my own resume, I'm going to buy a template from Etsy. Okay, so the main issue I'm having with this is that almost every template I'm seeing has some sort of objective statement or profile section, so I may just have to get one and delete that. I'm no resume expert, but I've always thought those sections were kind of pointless and silly. So it says here your objective is to become a master at taxidermy. So you applied for an accounting job. You do know there's a big difference between taxidermy and taxes, right? Oh yeah, no, just skip that. I was literally just too lazy to put in the title of this job. So in my opinion, the best.
Yeah, I've done that. I think most people have done that. Right? Whether it's a cover letter, resume, email, right? You send it out en masse to a lot of companies, and you just kind of forget that sometimes you put that company's name and forgot to switch to the new company. It's embarrassing, but it happens. Makes sense that you wouldn't want to have something super specific to job specific when you're sending out 1,000 resumes. So yeah, that makes sense. You wouldn't want to put that on here. But actually, just pushing this whole thing aside, that objective part of your resume, don't use that. There's not much reason, unless you're really trying to fill space. it's not that helpful. If you want a quick little blurb about you and your past experience that you can't get from the rest of the bullets, fine. But an objective, it's probably going to end up being like, hey, I want a job. So, I don't know. I've never found a use for it. Obviously, he hasn't either. If you have, cool. Leave a comment below about how you have found that resume portion helps you in your job search.
So in my opinion, the best case scenario is it gives no information. Being that I'm going to be applying for 1,000 jobs, I want to do as little customization as possible. Okay, so I ended up buying and filling out a couple resumes here, and I must say, I think we got a couple winners. Now, I'll be the first to admit, filling out resumes was a bit more challenging than I expected.
I don't know. At least all of my resumes that I've ever made, that I've ever reviewed, they've all been more clean than this. This like 4-section thing is a no-no. Not because it doesn't look good, but because it's not really efficient. There's a lot of white space on this page, but also because most of the time when you're applying, it's going to scrape off the stuff on your resume, and if it's not in a good format that is computer readable, then you're going to have to retype in most of the information from your resume, which is a pain in the ass, which he's going to have to do a lot for 1,000. It's a pain in the ass with like 3 resumes and 3 applications, much less 1,000. So I wouldn't go with this one if I were him, but he did. And
that said, I've filled these out based on the way I would like to see them as a potential employer. So I've got these 2 different resumes, and I think I'm going to do a total of 2
I've visited 13 different countries. You don't need to put that. You can. You can. You don't need to.
Each one. One where the candidate is expecting to graduate from college in the next few months, and another where our candidate never went to college and just has a high school diploma. So when all is said and done, we're going to have 4 resumes. Each resume is going to have a college and a high school version, and we're going to swap out the names Demetrius and Tanner on each one. As far as work experience goes, I'm going to have one version with the well-known retailer. The other is going to be a well-known and well-respected restaurant chain.
So we're mixing a lot of variables here, right? He said there's 4 resumes for each person. So that's 8 different resumes. So he's trying not only 2 different people or 2 different names, he's also trying college resumes or no college degrees, and also just changing the resume format. Right, so that's 3 different variables that he's trying to manipulate here. So I don't love that, especially if he's using it to kind of recreate an experiment, then I don't love that, right? It's hard to track and isolate those variables. I get it's a YouTube video and this is entertainment, but I don't know, it just seems a little off.
A well-respected restaurant chain. Now to keep track of all the responses, I set up a new email address and a new phone number for each resume for each of our candidates. It took a lot of work, but we're ready to apply for jobs. So this application is asking for a joke. How about, I don't really know how to say this to you, but Worcestershire. Okay, here's one. Do you speak Spanish? I'll say yes. And in parentheses, sí. Which, if you didn't know, is Spanish for sure. So the way that I'm actually...
Wow, 11 days in. That's dedication. I couldn't do this. Like, props to you, man. That's amazing. I couldn't do it. Applying to a bunch of jobs that you don't actually care about, maybe that makes it easier. I couldn't do it. This is dedication, man. Good job.
Applying for all these jobs is one of 2 methods. First, I took a list of the S&P 500 companies, so 500 of the largest companies in the U.S., and I just go to their career site and you look for entry-level jobs. The next way is I'm going to career websites like Indeed, Career Builder, and I'm searching for entry-level jobs on there. I find companies and positions through there and then go directly to their websites.
Okay, so he's going through job boards, but when he finds a job on the job board, he's going directly through their website, which is a good practice if you are applying to different jobs. It seems like it's taking something that's already a pain in the ass and making it even more difficult. I was thinking, right, 1,000 resumes? Yeah, just go on Indeed and like quick apply, quick apply, quick apply. And that's still gonna take quite a bit of time. And he's skipping all of that. Whew. Again, dedication. My man.
In my own experience, when I've received applications, it always meant a lot more if they went directly to our website as opposed to a job board. And with this click here, I believe that is job application 1000. That took quite a bit longer than I expected. The worst part of the process is you upload a resume and then not having to refill all the information in, but when the system attempts to upload your information into the fields, but does it incorrectly, and then you have to go back and delete all that information and then re-add it again.
That is like the worst thing. And that's why I don't recommend that format that he did. I'm not saying it's not going to happen anytime, but you really want a very computer readable format so that it can grab all that information good. I'm not saying they're all going to do that, but that is the biggest pain. Or, you know, when they have you submit the resume and then they don't scan it, and they're like, hey, by the way, thanks for submitting that resume. Can you please type in all of this information? Oh, it's the worst. And he just had to do this a lot. So I have empathy. Okay, what's the second worst thing?
Is assessment test. Instead of taking 2 or 3 minutes to apply for a job, you do an assessment test and you're talking 15, sometimes 20 minutes to apply for a job.
Yeah. Okay. Not even like 20 minutes. It's still actually on the low end for a lot of these jobs that I've applied to that require you. Like I've done one where you have to call, like leave a voice message response to a question. It's like a mock interview. Like you'd have to take a personal assessment test, like an ethics test, all this trash before you even talk to a recruiter or before you even talk to the hiring manager. Like it's insane. Whenever I see those, I just, nope, I'm out. Unless it's a job that I really want. Nah, I'm not about that. If it takes more than 10 minutes to apply to a company, you're making it too difficult to apply. Maybe that's their purpose. They want to weed out the people like me who don't want to spend a lifetime applying to jobs.
The first few were like a little bit fun, but after 2 or 3, they were just brutal. Now, one thing that was surprising in this whole process is, you know, the old meme of entry-level job but requires 3 to 5 years experience. Well, I didn't track it for all 1,000 jobs, but I did take a sample of 50 of the jobs that I applied for. Of those 50, 21 of the jobs specifically said, either in the job title or in the job description, that they were an entry-level position. Of those 21, only 2 specifically said that they required experience. Another 6 said something about experience preferred. The rest of those 21 didn't say anything about experience required, experience preferred, and some even advertised that no experience was required. So I think the meme is kind of true to an extent.
Yeah, so granted, he only took like 50 of those 1,000 interviews, but I have actually found that they always want experience. They're never gonna, unless, like he said, that was part of the sell, saying even you can work here with no experience, right? Unless that's part of their pitch, of course they're gonna say they want experience. Who doesn't want experience? That's why you apply to jobs that you're not qualified for based off of the job listing, because no one has got the experience that they ask for. Now, there usually is a required skills and a preferred skills section, right? Or experience, whatnot. But yeah, I find that they'll say, hey, yeah, 8 years, mandatory experience. I've applied with none. And they're like, yeah, you know, on the job training works. Right? Maybe it's just to scare people off. Maybe it's because they just want people who have those 8 years of experience to apply. But you're not applying to an entry-level job with 8 years of experience. You're applying to a different job. So I don't know where they get people from if just people who are qualified for these jobs applied. So I don't know. That's why I always apply to jobs that I'm not qualified for. But that's also probably why I don't hear back a lot of the time, because you actually did need 8 years of experience. If I can get into an interview, I'm usually pretty good at selling myself and saying, hey, I'm not sure, but I can learn it, and just kind of selling that. The whole point of a resume is to get the interview. Once you've got the interview, your resume is not so important.
So I think the meme is kind of true to an extent, but gets a bit exaggerated more than reality. Though I did hear about a company one time asking for 10 years of experience in a programming language that had only been around for 7 years. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's
probably true. It's probably because a recruiter wrote that rec, not a person who has any knowledge of the programming language.
It's pretty funny. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is time for the results. I did decide to put on a suit and tie in honor of all the job interviews I didn't go on. Of the 8. So I think my takeaway here is that the entry-level job market seems to be pretty strong, at least at the time of this video. Getting an interview request back on a third of the applications sent in, that's pretty good, I think.
Getting a 30% response rate on your applications is incredible, especially if they are to actually get an interview. I'm just talking about like a response. Most of my applications just go unresponded to. I get ghosted 80% of the time at least. So this is pretty good. Now, granted, some of the jobs that I apply to are not entry-level jobs, and I apply to jobs that I am not qualified for. So I guess that's something different. But no, that's really good, especially for entry-level jobs. Right, so I guess from my experience, the tech job market right now is incredible for candidates. Right? I get several people reaching out to me every single day for new job applications. They say, hey, do you want to come work here? I'm like, sorry, I already have a job. Right? So from my experience, but that's just in the tech field, right? These entry-level jobs may or may not be tech related. I know that the tech entry-level jobs in like software development or cybersecurity, anything like that, are super competitive because you've got people that are just out of college, you've got people that don't have a college degree and are just self-taught, so they have different skills to bring to the table, and you've got people who have industry experience in something else and they're trying to make a shift to the tech field because it pays better, you can work from home, right? There's lots of benefits. So it is super saturated. I know people who are really smart and they have a great portfolio and they still cannot get an entry-level job in the tech industry because it's just difficult to break into unless you have a good entry point. So for me, I did a program that took brand new graduates and let them kind of work and a contract to hire for a little bit. And that worked really well for me, even though I was not a recent graduate. That was how I got my foot in the door, and that worked out well for me. But if people are just trying to apply straight up to an entry-level job without going through some program like that, then yeah, it's difficult from what I've seen out there. Mid-range, I think that's kind of where there's a whole lot of stuff. And so that's kind of being marketed as entry-level because all the entry-level spots are full, but there's a lot of mid-tier jobs open. And so they want people, but they want people with at least a little bit of experience. But those jobs might be marketed as entry-level. So I think that's kind of where some of this confusion can come from. Again, in this career field, that's kind of what I've noticed. That's not to say that lines up perfectly with what his experiment was, but you know, I can see the similarities.
Now, how many of those would have turned into actual jobs? Hey, we'll never know. If you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you're going to like this one next. That's it for today. I'll see you in the next one.
Okay, well, hey, that was it. Please leave a comment about what you liked and what you didn't like about this video. Look, this is brand new content. I'll be honest, I don't know what I'm doing. This is not my normal kind of video. My normal videos are very interview based. They're very, how do you get the job, career success in general. This kind of commentary video is not something I'm used to, but I watched this video, I liked it, and it seemed like a very interesting concept, and I wanted to add commentary to it, but it's not really something that I get to add that kind of commentary to on its own video. So I just wanted to try it out. If you like this kind of review, let me know. Leave comments on what you liked and what you didn't like. That's okay, be brutal. I am trying something completely new. I've never done a review video like this. I've never added commentary to something. I am trying new things out, and feedback is the best way I have to improve it quickly. So please leave some sort of feedback, help me out. If this video was trash, let me know. If you liked it, if you liked my kind of commentary and the experience that I was able to bring to this, let me know. Be sure to check out the original video on Logical Finance's channel. I've put a link in the description to the video and his channel. I will be back with more videos. I'm just gonna try out some different content, so you might see some different types of videos come up here soon. Just let me know what you like about them and what you don't like about them. That's all I ask. All right, I'll catch you next time.